Welcome to PharmaSource, recorded at CDMO Live 2025. This episode is brought to you by Qualifies, the platform that helps life science teams streamline audits and predict site risks with AI-driven insights.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fabrice Le Garrec. I'm the leader of a network of senior independent experts in the pharma industry. We help CDMOs, big pharma, solve some of their biggest challenges in terms of time to market. We focus really on manufacturing operations, launching new sites, launching new product, helping increase the output of particular technologies or lines. And we bring senior experts to our clients to do that with people who know what they're talking about. First of all, I want to thank CDMO Live for letting me share a bit of an exceptional moment in my career where I was invited to lead the launch of the Moderna vaccine at Lonza in Visp in Switzerland. There were two sites producing the Moderna vaccine, one in the US at Lonza in Portsmouth and one in Visp in Switzerland. I was leading with many colleagues, of course, that particular setup. And I think it's an opportunity to share back those moments and to be able to take stock. It was a good exercise for me, actually, to reflect on what could be learned on launching, let's say, fast-tracking emergency drug manufacturing. So let me start with a question, and maybe somebody has the right answer in the room. How long did it take for Lonza and Moderna jointly to launch a new mRNA vaccine into commercial stage? From the moment they decided and they moved, and the moment I was injected with one of the first doses. Anybody? 12? Yeah, you're close, yeah. It's about 10 months. Yeah, the employees of the site got privileged to have the first dose. I was there, and I got, even as a consultant, I got the first dose, obviously. When everybody was locked up, we were going back and forth to help with that. So indeed, February 2021, first doses are coming out, and basically, yes, of course, it was a very special case with enormous focus and arguably one of the simplest manufacturing process for vaccines, right? mRNA is actually pretty simple when it's under control. But I remember many people stating, well, this is going to be a breakthrough, time to develop, the way to develop drug products in the future will change forever because it's setting new standards, right, in terms of speed to market and benchmarking. What's left 4 years later? Not much, I'm afraid. Not much. I can see it in this, at my clients today. Timing plans developed the conventional way, lots of buffer, and built-in project architectural failures. So quite a big lost opportunity, but still a lot of learning, which I will share to you. So just a bit of numbers as well to create the burning platform. When you look at 2022 Tufts Center for the Study of Drug Development, the average drug development process can still take over a decade to progress from phase 1 to commercial. And when you go and you launch from phase 3 to commercial, this can still take about 2 to 3 years. It's an enormous amount of time with a lot of money at stake because you have to keep your employees before you earn your first euro and dollar. So why has it never been so urgent to change? Well, let me give you just 4 good reasons. First of all, development cost. To develop a new drug, the numbers are just keep growing. They are astronomical. The average spread cost of bringing a new product to market exceeds $2.6 billion as of 2021, US dollars, right? And that includes the cost of failed trial. But if you take that out, it's still about $1 billion per product, right? It's a huge amount of money that have to be spent up front before you get any earnings. Regulatory challenges, we talked about this earlier today, they create further length and delays. So, you have a lot of more expensive, costly trials which you have to fund. Investment in R&D weighs a lot on the P&L. In 2021, there was $180 billion spent across the world on R&D, with very, very few drugs actually making it to market. It's only a 10% number. I mean, it's an incredibly inefficient industry. Lots of money spent up front, very few candidates for success, which makes it even more urgent to get some earning quickly and to launch faster. What I noticed as well, and I'm a bit privileged because I was early in my career working in the automotive industry, I find the pharmaceutical industry sometimes a bit out of touch or late in terms of what other industries are doing to launch products very fast. So earlier in my career, when you looked at product development and launches, especially, let's say, the automotive industry, it's not a comparison, it's just to show the progress these people have made. Back in the 90s, it would take 7 to 10 years to develop a new car, and a car is a very complex thing to develop, right? When you look in the years 2000, it started to drop to about 5 years. And now the best in class are about 3 years, right? So it's about a 60% reduction in ability to design and launch a new car. And I think a 50% drop is achievable in our industry. The proxy I have is when I look at the vast majority of the processes or the critical path to launch a drug, the touch time, so the moments where we're actually adding value to the critical path is around 10 to 15%. A lot of dead time, a lot of waiting in between. Waiting for a contract to be signed, waiting for a machine to be available, waiting for raw materials to arrive. And that coordination is not working. So if you apply it to the critical path, there's a potentially good 50% that can be saved by rethinking how we work, and there were many discussions around that today, in an integrated way. And I think we've all witnessed how slow it can be in some cases. So it's about mindset, but it's around working methodologies, practical ways of interacting differently. And I think when Moderna and Lonza worked on this project, they had to reinvent the ways of working, and that's why there were lots of very good learnings to this. So I can't explain everything because I have very limited time, but let me share 10 very big learnings of that period. And if I had to redo it again, I would damn make sure that this is under control because it created a lot of pain. Number one, first of all, labs, analytical services. Super critical. We underestimated how much this could hinder our ability to ramp up, how long we had to wait for samples, how long we had to wait for results, also the repeatability of the methodology. So I would actually build up a totally flexible lab capacity with overcapacity wherever it can be, and work early to confirm the repeatability of the test. We tend to do that at the very last stage. Actually, it's very critical, and we failed. There were many failures because of that. And then you need to build local lab capacity because you can't do the IPC far away. You have to do them right here, right now. But there are many ways to buffer testing capacity. When you are in CQV, you need to go fast, and you can't wait 3 days for the lab to give you the results. You need to build the lab, the QC capacity around the speed that you need. And that would be a non-negotiable for me. The second one is recruiting people. right? So in this case, I think we had to recruit about 300 people extremely fast. We went to the local kitchens, pizza place. People were coming from all over the industry. One thing that is very, very critical is to have the capacity to train people on real lines. So we eventually did it, but at the beginning it was very difficult. We didn't have access to a line. The things I would do is really buy 2 lines at the start. You will always use the second line, the one that you are using for training. You can use it later to add capacity, but you need a line for people to practice and to avoid making mistakes down the road. You can complement with accelerated learning solution, but believe me, virtual reality, blah, 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 this doesn't work as good as having people working on the machine and repeating the gestures, learning, because a lot of people you have to recruit are coming from industries that are not at all linked to pharma. So they are discovering the job and they really need good training. Also, the recruitment pool, the recruitment process, the machine, really has to look at multiple sources quite fast, and then have at the center of the resource, the recruitment pool, have somebody from operations, somebody who knows the profile, the type of qualities the people need to have to be good operators, to do the job right first time, etc. And I think there is a big advantage of having somebody very experienced in working with people on the shop floor to be the leader of the recruitment pool. The third one is to create a PMO network, and maybe this is one to challenge, but a PMO network with execution power over functions. I mentioned it in a roundtable early on. When you are in this kind of crisis, the traditional model of organization doesn't work. The functions are too siloed, they are too politics, and here what was done is that the PMO had really a reporting line to the CEO, and the functions were providing the resource, but the PMO was the ultimate decision maker to protect the timeline. There were daily calls with the CEO of Moderna, and the PMO really had all authority to call the shots and to align everybody under them, right? So it's a different type of organization. In many organizations, you would have the project management at the same level as the head of QC, at the same level of manufacturing. This doesn't work in crisis situation. You need to take one of your best talent, senior leader, put it at the very top, and this guy calls the shot every day. This is what happened, and this is why we were able to do it in 10 months. Otherwise, the politics takes over, people are fighting for resource. This was a very important decision that they took. And then we also equipped the PMO with, let's say, SMEs or people that were available to quickly go and fix problems, flying squads, or we could quickly look after a very particular deviation, critical deviation, and solve the problem right here, right now. And that was very important. Number 4 was to develop processes based on standard technology, consumables, and equipment. When you are not thinking about standardization, you're going to enter into big problems. Changing points are your biggest enemy. If you start to introduce things that you've never experienced before, believe me, Murphy's Law, you will fail somewhere. Yeah, so be very careful about that. Try to simplify, try to use standard technology, standard consumable, etc. And it will also help with your qualification and validation, because you can easily put rationales in place. Number 5, change controls. Big nightmare, big nightmare. When you're going that fast, you don't have time to do it in the slow way. You really have to have a coordinator, somebody who's watching the change control and the impact it has on multiple dimensions. And these guys have to be working across the functions in a very cross-functional way with global and local team, prepare the sites, and basically create a good visualization. At sometimes we were completely stuck. What is this change doing? Who is it impacting? Are they ready? And you really need to manage change controls like never before, actually. Number 6, documentation, nightmare. You need a control tower. Who is supposed to write what, when? What is the decision maker on the final version? And go really to the point in terms of creation process, coordination of the flow, understanding who has to review by when. So we really had a lot of lean management tools, visualization, progress on the volume of documentation we had to produce. Number 7, resource planning. When you go that fast, you can't look at resource planning the usual way. So there were guys that were solely focused on rerunning the models all the time, creating the models, rerunning, to make sure that people would have enough time and resource to meet the deadlines. So you work backwards. You have deadline you need to meet, and you need to make sure that the resource will come on time. We made one big mistake. We forgot the release process. So suddenly we realized there was not enough people to actually work on reviewing all the documentation, all the deviations, and close them on time. So we created a huge bottleneck, and the resource planner was not monitoring what it was going to take to release the batches. Eventually we caught up, but we had to call ex-Lonza employee coming back from their retirement to really help to solve to get the release process. So a resource planner, always keep the eyes on the ball, constantly anticipating hiring, but it's not just hiring, it's also upskilling of resource. So if you need the resource in 3 months, you need to plan for training these people up front before they can be ready operationally. We talked about this earlier in one session. Supplies and consumable. At the time of COVID, it was a nightmare. We were helped by the US government at that time to prioritize, of course, some supply, but having that control tower of supplies, because it's going everywhere, it's very hard to monitor the level of stock you have. So the status of the stock, the release status, the usage forecast, we realized very quickly the normal system doesn't work, and you really need to have somebody dedicated to that and at each site to really look at what's happening on that front. The CMO coordination, single point of contact as well. Here it's really to have at the critical CMO somebody at the site coordinating. So Moderna, for example, had many people on site at Lonza for months and months to shortcut the communication channels, to really go fast. Take a problem and they would take the ball, carry it over to Moderna, push for the decision, get the answer for the next day. That kind of coordination. There's nothing replacing face-to-face, on-site collaboration. Nothing. You can think and dream that teams will... No, when you are on-site and you are co-located, you have discussions that you're not going to have. You see each other every morning at the check-in, every night at the checkout, and during the day you can actually, go and discuss and solve problems right here, right now. And then finally, deviations management. They are important, they are critical, but they take a lot of time. And usually they will take a lot of time from the people who are actually supposed to drive the process. So we soon realized we had really to set up teams to help write the deviations so that the people on the execution side could focus on making the batches in the correct way. So, we went up to 3 shifts, working around the clock. There were a huge amount of deviations on the first batches. And then it went down quickly, but if we hadn't provided people to help on that, there was no way we could have done everything at the same time. So within 10 key learnings, I would say that would have been, of course, much better. We finally got it and we fixed it, but there are, of course, many other opportunities to gain speed. And I think still there is a good reflection on that in the pharmaceutical industry with its future evolution. I think there are opportunities to reduce the speed and obviously go to market faster. Adopting a different setup, adopting different mindset, you can change the game. So I hope we don't have a new pandemic too quickly. It may come back. There could be another one. We had bird flu before. We had COVID. Maybe every 10 years we'll have one of those. It's I'm the opinion now, after living this, that there is a lot to gain by fast-track drug manufacturing. And I think also that CDMOs who can somehow offer a different setup, or actually this know-how, can also have a true competitive advantage. Maybe not all of that, but actually being able to respond to a customer who wants to accelerate going to market is a very important thing to offer. So in case you need that, of course, you're welcome, come to me. But thank you for your attention today, and my privilege to share some of these learnings.
For more external manufacturing insights, head to cdmolive.com and download our 50-page summary of the event. Make sure to book your ticket for CDMO Live 2026, taking place the 27th to 28th of May at the World Trade Center, Rotterdam. We look forward to seeing you there.